Good afternoon. This is Media Center, Ukraine, Odessa. We are starting our briefing day. Our first briefing is dedicated to cultural life in Odessa during the martial law. Our current guests are several directors of several Odessa theaters. And now we would like to discuss how the theaters are preparing to finalize the second war theater season. And we'll start in an alphabetic order. Let's start with Alena Redko, Artistic Director of the Odessa Academic Theater of Music Comedy. Good afternoon. What can we say? First of all, the last 2 years have been not very happy, but we're optimistic about our future anyway. That's why we continue our work. This theater season that started in August 2022 and will end on the 1st of July 2023 was very active. Thanks to our artistic staff. That worked without any flaws. I would like to thank all our employees for the fact that we were able to have more than 40 concerts in military units, in hospitals. We visited our military who were released from captivity, and we visited them in the Poltava region. We also are actively involved in volunteering. This season, we were able to release the operetta of Imre Kalman, Princess of Circus, that happened in October last year, but we expected that to be in March 2022. And on the 25th of February, we were supposed to start rehearsals of that operetta in the premises of the Odessa Circus. So we were fully ready for that, but the full-scale invasion started. On the 24th of February, we could not celebrate the 50-year anniversary of one of the leading actors of our theater. Then we released 2 performances that we translated from Russian into Ukrainian, that were performances for children, Chipolina, which is a very important play about strife to freedom. And also the second performance for children was Cinderella. We also translated that into Ukrainian language. Actually, we've translated a lot of our performances in Ukrainian language. This is the play The Night on the Eve of Christmas, Chasing Two Hares. In March, we released The Liar. And one more performance is 12 Cheers, and the second part of that, The Golden Calf. And now it's a week before we release the new play. This is The Love of Sychovy Strelets. This operetta was transformed into a musical that is operetta of Barnage that was created in the 1930s. Barnage is considered Ukrainian Kalman. This is the first time for our theater because it is more popular in the western parts of Ukraine, for example, in Lviv. Vitaly Platov, our director, evacuated to the western Ukraine at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, and he saw there this performance, this play, the sharpshooter, and now we actively work on this performance, on this play. And in June and in July, we are going to have first nights of sharpshooter. We would like to invite everyone. This is really a very patriotic and very colorful and very beautiful play. We would like to invite everyone, and we would like to thank our audience for the fact that over the last year, they have been actively visiting our theater despite air raid alerts. We agreed with the nearby multiple block of flats that has quite a big bomb shelter to use in case of need. And we do not worry about our audience and about our staff if there is an air raid alert. I would like to wish everyone a good holiday season. I would like to wish our staff to have a good rest. And I would also like to wish our audiences health and peace to everyone, to get peace as soon as possible. Because we deserve this. We deserve to live in peace and in calmness. Thank you. Yulia Pyvovarova, Artistic Director of the Odesa Academic Ukrainian Music and Drama Theatre. The floor is yours. Please share more details about your theatre season. We have worked quite actively for the last year and a half. We started working on the 15th of March 2022. So we started developing new performances and staging. The new production that we released, and we were one of the first theater to open in our country, starting from the full-scale invasion. And but on the 22nd of April, we were able to have the first night performance of the play, which is called Sasha, Please Throw Away the Waste. We selected the premises that we have under the stage. That was very difficult, but it was really a very interesting experience. And this play was included to the long list of the national Ukrainian prize, Gra, or a play, and they saw our performance and they saw tears in their eyes. But back then in April, we did not know at all whether Ukrainians needed theaters, because back then we were facing heavy missile attacks. But a lot of people came to see the first night, and we understood that people needed theater. For the last year of active work, we have produced 6 first nights. We have updated a lot of our older performances. And we used to have an orchestra, but unfortunately many of our colleagues, mainly women with children, left abroad. And now we have a jazz band managed by our musical director, Vadim Besarab, who is a well-known jazz player in Odessa. And Odessa residents also know that we have a lot of jazz concerts in different formats, including solo performances of Vadim Besarab. And except for national theaters, I don't know what other theaters manage to produce the 6 first nights. And I would also like to say that the theaters all over Ukraine united, and our first tours where in June last year in the city of Rivne. We were invited with the concert of Vadim Bessarab and with the play Sasha Throw the Waste. Then we had a tour to the city of Ivano-Frankivsk, then in Mykolaiv. And we also invited our colleagues. We provided our premises to the Mykolaiv Theater, to the Kherson Theater, named after Mykola Kulish. We have signed agreement with 4 theaters with regard to co-production. In Rivne, there was the premiere of the Grain Sila, directed by Maxim Shelenko, with the involvement of our theater, and it was last year, and now it is also included in the long list of the National Prize Gra. And after the explosion at Kakhovska HPP dam, we were not able to make the announcement together with Alexander Kniha. Kherson used to face for many years one of the most powerful theatric festival, Melpomena, and we really tried to find online format. And I would like to announce that in September, in the premises of our theater, there will be staged several performances of this festival, because we understand that the situation in Kherson is very difficult, but we would like to help our colleagues there to preserve their activities. I would also like to thank our former chief director, Maxim Galenko, for being able to restore the troupe of Ukrainian theater. That was very difficult. And when our colleagues say that we have a very good image all over Ukraine, this is actually thanks to Maxim. We have friendly relations with him, but I would like to bring your attention to the fact of solving the issue of a transfer of Maxim Galenko. He is now the artistic director of another theater, and also of course, he was offered to stay in Odessa because they understand that Odessa National Ukrainian Theater is foremost of Ukrainian culture. And we were really very pleased because in the ministry they said that we had done so much that we would cope without Maxim, and that Lviv Theater needed Maxim more than we. To celebrate 136th anniversary of Vasil Vasilka, we produced the play of Vasilka, The Cup of Black Coffee, dedicated to the biography of Les Kurbas. All of us perhaps know about Les Kurbas. We know his name, but not all people, not all viewers, know more details about Les Kurbas. We found that play, and it was really very interesting. So that was a kind of theatrical reading, but we are going to continue our work with this play. Recently, we've had the theatrical performance, I Will Learn Love from the World, and that was also a very important story that we presented to Odessa residents and to the guests of our city. We presented the poetry of this short renaissance of Ukraine. And after that performance, we received feedback from Odessa residents. And Odessa poets of the 1960s, so-called Shestidesiatniki, is an important layer of Ukrainian culture. That's why we continue working with this material. Before the full-scale invasion, we had friendly meetings in the Greek Hall. Unfortunately, we cannot offer Greek Hall at the moment because it is rather complicated now. That's why we have educational events in the premises under the stage of the theater, the so-called format of the theater in shelter. We have started talks and lectures in our theater dedicated to cultural and theatrical events. Please follow our announcements that we publish on the website of our theater and on our pages in Facebook, Telegram, and Instagram. And we're going to offer even more interesting events. Over the last year, people used to have asked me a lot about the changes of the Ukrainian theater in Odessa during the full-scale invasion. It is easy to answer the questions. We have not changed much. During all this time, we kept telling about the war, because the war started not in 2022, but in 2014. That's why I believe that our theater has made a significant contribution in the awareness of Odessa residents about the current events. And we will also end our theater season on the 30th of June with the play which is called Carpathian Western by Maxim Golenko, where involved almost all actors of our theater. And I would like to make an announcement right away. We are going to start the new season in August. We plan Sasha throw the waste on the 24th of August, and on the 27th of August, we are going to have a first night performance by the play of Kabelanska, which is produced by our actor Alexander Samusenko. So please stay tuned, and we're waiting for next meetings with you. Thank you very much. And now I would like to give floor to Liudmyla Serhiichuk, Assistant of the General Director and Artistic Director of the Odessa National Academic Opera and Ballet Theatre. Ms. Serhiichuk, the floor is yours. And now I would like to give floor to Lilia Shtekel. First of all, I would like to thank Ukrainian Media Center for the invitation. I'd like to say that the life of theaters during the martial law, during the military aggression, and I think my colleagues will agree with me, is the situation of crisis management. Every theater tries not only to survive, but to be that force that supports, that inspires, and that gives opportunity to live and move on. And the Odessa National Academic Opera and Ballet Theatre, since the first day of the full-scale invasion, have been using this as the main program of its activities. And to be honest, on the 12th of March, our actors went to the square before the Opera House in the framework of the action called Free Sky. We wanted to bring attention to what was going on in our country. Those were the artists and actors from our theater, the management of our theater, the singers of the choirs, and also the musicians of our orchestra. So we wanted to address the whole world. There were a lot of journalists. And we saw that we had like thousands of views of this action. That was the start of our further life, of the life of our theater after the full-scale invasion. What have been done over the period since that day? Of course, the more important thing for us is first night performances. We had a very powerful premiere in September. That was a Catholic opera called Katerina, basing on the artistic heritage of Taras Shevchenko. Music by Alexander Rodin, our modern Ukrainian composer. That was the event of the world significance. And the opera was broadcasted on the RT channel. We would like to thank Suspilna broadcaster and our partners who helped us to film this wide-scale and very important event, because this opera became a new page in the history of Ukrainian opera art. In 2 months, we also had the first 9 performance of Snow White opera, music by Bogdan Pavlovsky. That was for children, and that was in November. And we are ending this theater season with one more premiere, and I would like to invite you to the children's ballet, which was produced by the modern composer Yuliya Pyvovarova, and I would like to invite you to this children's ballet, Little Thumbnail, which is a very modern, very contemporary ballet with great costumes, with great dances and beautiful music. And the whole troupe of our theater is fully united to prepare to this first night. We are going to end our theater season on the 11th of July. And the last week will be dedicated to final events of this theater. Of course, this will cover classic operas, classic ballets, and of course all premieres that we have produced during this very difficult season. I'd like to say that crisis management should be manifested through new forms, through new scenes and sceneries to introduce contemporary ideas. And the Director General and the artistic director of our theater, Nadia Babic, has been effectively implementing these new ideas and concepts. And I would like to dwell upon this now. In September, we offered to our smaller audience the educational program, The Trip of Little Musician. There were 12 trips, and the premiere was in the last performance of these such trips was in May, and we are going to continue them in our next season because they are very popular among children and among their family members, because the whole families come to see what we offer within this project. Children can better know operas, ballets, musical instruments, the stage, to see what is going behind the curtain. This is the second stage of our theater, art space, Balletage Premiazum. Quite recently, on the 2nd of June, we presented a new project, which is called A New Music of Ukraine. The Odesa Opera House gives opportunity to contemporary Ukrainian musicians, talented musicians, which are very popular now, to perform on our stage. We provide them our leading singers, orchestras, our chorus, to perform contemporary music of Ukrainian contemporary musicians. And for example, we presented music of Alexander Rodin, which is a very talented contemporary Ukrainian composer. And the example of Katerina opera showed that the music of Alexander is miraculous. It inspires so much. It provides so many opportunities to find hope, which is so needed at the moment. And his concert that took place on the 2nd of June showed once again that this is very needed for our audience. We are going to prolong this project in the new season. We have already planned events in the framework of the project. It should be also mentioned that despite the war, we were able to have the 7th artistic festival, the Crimson Season in Odessa Opera House, and I can announce now the 8th festival. The slogan of the 7th festival was Art of the Victory. And I think that we will have the same slogan, the same motto for the 8th edition of the festival, which we are going to start on the 24th of August. I would also like to say that over the last year, the artists of our opera house have been supporting our military. They gave concerts in military units, in territorial defense units. And we can speak about endless support of artists of all theaters given to all our servicemen and servicewomen. And we will continue these activities because this is a very important part of work of our artists. Thanks to God, thanks to the armed forces of Ukraine, we can continue our activities. We can create a new cultural, artistic Ukrainian product, which is needed so much right now. We need to find strength to implement our ideas and plans in real life. We will be very thankful to see audience in our theaters during first night performances that will take place on the 17th, the 18th, and 25th of June. Thank you. And now I would like to give floor to Lilia Shtekel, head of the Literary and Drama Department of the Yuriy Olesha Odessa Theatre for Young Audiences. Thank you. What can you tell us about your second World Theatre season? The theatre for young audiences is not just a simple theatre. This is a mission. And during the war, the theater starting working online from on the 3rd day of the full-time invasion. Our director was managed to bring us online. We had open readings, we had readings of poems, we had videos that online. And yesterday it was 1 year since we started working offline. That was on the 14th of June last year, when we could work with our audience offline in our premises. In autumn, we produced and we had first night performances of plays that we translated into Ukrainian language, like Little Prince, Mowgli. The season was the season of unbreakable audience, and such audience is very important during the war. Our viewers, our audience support us, and we support them in our turn. We have invincible audience, and our theater is a kind of a forepost. Thank you very much to my colleagues for mentioning that, because this is also a safety island for our audience. In autumn, we also had the new play Pollyanna. Pollyanna is about happiness. It's about finding happiness at every point of your life, even when you feel bad. In winter, we had art therapy play of lullabies, basing on the Ukrainian lullabies. This is an art therapy for our audience. The audience in our hall with their children can feel a spiritual relief, and this is really very important. We help them to cope with their emotions during the war. We believe that theaters during war should be very careful about their repertoires. We have been producing now 2 new plays. This is the one basing on the play of Gibson. This is the play about a girl who was supported by the puppet, was very hot and hard. It is staged by Elena Yuzvak, director and actor. She also actually was the director of Pollyanna. And the second premiere that we are going to have at the end of summer is Chalapitov and Mema Andrievska. We found a new Ukrainian name in drama. We are now rediscovering for us new names, and we also help our audience to find happiness in their lives. Jalapita is a philosophical tale. It is ironic. It is very kind, and it will help our audience to find happiness in their future life. The whole repertoire of our theater is in Ukrainian language. We have done a lot to translate most of our plays in Ukrainian, and we are proud that our artists are a united team. It is a united, strong team now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing details about your activities during the second theater season. And we would like to ask journalists to cover more the cultural events during the war, during in Odessa, because we can see the changes in cultural life. And if we have changes in cultural life, we can see changes in life of people living in Odessa, and also the changes in their mindset during the full-scale invasion. We need to stop here, but if some journalists want to cover this topic, we will gladly share the contacts of Odessa theaters, of those whose representatives we are having today, and those who are going to invite next time. Thank you very much. Our next briefing will be at 1 p.m., and it will be dedicated to the situation in Kherson. We will see the situation there, and we also discuss how they deal with the consequences of the explosion of them.